So I first heard about the concept of the higher self when I was in my early 20s, and I started reading some of Crowley's material after I had an experience in church where I was praying against the current, and I started to feel really, really good. And I'm like, well, where is this coming from? So I started looking up Satanism to try to see if there was something like to this feeling. And I ended up joining one of the early Yahoo groups. I mean, that is just saying how old I am. I know I do not look that old. I'm magically keeping myself young. No, people in my family just really don't age that fast. But the point is, I had joined one of those Yahoo groups, and I had downloaded a lot of PDFs, a lot of which are in the public domain, and I really resonated with a lot of the things that Aleister Crowley was talking about in terms of this idea of the true will or the higher self, which, you know, seems to date back to these older occult concepts, like this idea of the operation of Abramelin, where you basically seclude yourself for 6 months or 18 months, and then you connect with this higher self, which is actually not really the higher self, but the holy guardian angel, which is supposed to be like this divine being or something, and then after which you call all these infernal entities or whatever. But I really had my doubts, and the idea of getting away from everybody didn't really seem that practical, even though I was kind of isolating myself a lot anyway. So I started reading his books and doing some of the rituals, and I did Liber Semic for a while regularly. I used to do it daily between repetitions of the Star Ruby, thinking that somehow by doing that I was going to connect with my higher self. And well, I did build up this regularity of what I considered to be a magical practice, and occasionally I had, you know, a few strange things happen, but nothing really like earth-shattering. After I gave birth to my son, it was just too much to keep that up, because newborns, you know, they need a lot of attention, and, you know, the newborn sleep schedule and the, or I should say lack of schedule, because they have to eat every few hours, which I didn't even know until I had one. So this idea of doing this practice even every day was just, you know, at that point it just seemed like a lot. And the other thing I thought of at the time was, it's so important to belong to a community and be accepted by the community around you. And I basically went back to Catholicism for a little bit when my son was younger, because I thought that would, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but I thought that would be better for him and better for me, and I wouldn't have this contention with my husband, with my mom, over belief systems. and I could just not necessarily believe what the people around me believed, but follow the same traditions that they did in order to fit in, even though internally it was really incongruent with what I was feeling. And even though I fell away from going to church regularly, and like I never really started thinking it was like great or something, once my son got into like preschool, I started to have some more time to think about these things again, because, he was, starting preschool, he was past that baby stage, and we had the pandemic, so a lot of things transpired from there in terms of my spiritual development, but that's kind of the beginning stage of it. So from that experience, I really learned that doing the Librasemic every day, well, it might feel nice, well, there's some energetics going on, it's not going to really transform your life in terms of, the higher self is the future version of you who has the life that you desire. So just doing that one ritual, I mean, you're connecting to something, but you're not really necessarily listening to yourself and doing the things that is your true self.